When you have, control, or present data, you must take responsibility to behave in an ethical manner. In some cases, the data may be not so important for the real world, but there are other times when acting unethically can have serious consequences. For example, lying about safety data at a manufacturing plant could literally result in serious injury or deaths, and you certainly don't want to be responsible for that. Responsibility and ethics with data involves two different issues, so I'm going to talk about them in two separate videos. The issue I will discuss in this video is making up or manipulating data. And in the next video, I'll discuss using real data but making false or misleading claims. Well, this video can be short because the message is pretty simple. Don't do it. It's tempting to want to fake or manipulate data because you want to have amazing data to show off. Everyone has had the temptation to want to manipulate their data. I would be lying if I said that I never had the temptation, but faking data is wrong and there is no ambiguity about that point. I am happy to say that I have never faked my data because although I recognize that there is some ideal data that I wish I had, I would feel terrible if I ever made up data. I wouldn't be able to forgive myself, and if I got caught, it would basically be the end of my career as a scientist and as a teacher. Now, let me be clear about two important statements. First is that making up data is completely different from making honest mistakes with data. Obviously, you should try to avoid making mistakes, but mistakes are a part of life and they are inevitable. I've made mistakes before. Sometimes you catch your mistakes before anyone else notices, and sometimes someone else catches your mistake, and it can be a little bit embarrassing. But the difference between a mistake and unethical behavior is that mistakes are unintentional, while unethical behavior is intentional. The second statement is that there is actually nothing wrong per se with making up data. In fact, nearly all the data examples that I showed in this course are made up. And when I teach data analysis courses, I very often use made-up data. The problem, and the situation where making up data is unethical, is when you tell people that the data are real and you draw real-world conclusions based on the fabricated data. So made-up data can be useful for illustrating a point or showing a pattern that you expect to see before you show the real data. If you're making up data, then you need to make this point clear, ideally twice, once as a written disclaimer next to the graph, and once verbally when explaining or showing the data.